the supplementary budget has specific provisions, and these are issues that come in the course of implementation of a budget. That's why they are called supplementary budget, because the president having been elected on a particular mandate and being the man that is in charge of running the affairs of the government has a duty to day-to-day insight into issues that come up. And if any issue comes up that was not envisaged in the previous budget, it behoves on the executive to come to the legislature and ask for more funding to do this thing. The only thing is that we must be able to now track the funds to be sure that they are properly deployed. All right, Honorable, we're almost out of time. Your committee is a very, very important committee, public accounts, which has to do with sitting to review audit findings. And I'm wondering what you have. You were in the 9th, and this is the 10th National Assembly. And given the alleged leakages and thefts and corruption we've seen, we expect a lot of things from your committee, because when you look at the books, sometimes they don't pan out at the end of the day in terms of what is budgeted for, what was expended, as to what we can identify as these monies were expended for. So one is wondering, with the work your committee is doing in collaboration perhaps with the EFCC, why don't we have as many public officials in jail as they should be for stealing our Commonwealth, allegedly? Okay, thank you very much. You're very correct. The Public Account Committee is a committee that deals mostly with issues of ensuring that public funds are spent lawfully, are spent judiciously. And I can only speak about this assembly, where I have the privilege of heading that committee. If you have been following the media reportage of the activities of this committee, you will discover that we have actually done quite a lot in exposing some of the malfeasance and outright impunity that public officials have undertaken in the expenditure of public funds. Let me give an example of the investigation into the COVID-19 expenditure, which we carried out and submitted. We laid the report before the House just before the break. Now, the COVID pandemic was a global disaster. And one would expect that the sum of almost 2 trillion naira that was voted into combating the effect of the pandemic, fixing infrastructure, reflating the economy, will be substantially used for those purposes. But unfortunately, what we discovered there were very mind-boggling. A lot of diversion of public funds from the purpose for which they were meant. There are instances where people apply for this money and never even bother to give an account of it. But again, the way we also work, we have submitted a report before the House, which I'm sure the House is giving attention to consider as soon as we resume from the recess. And the findings of such report is what we can now transmit to the EFCC, to the ICPC, to the Nigerian Police Force, and other organs of government, which have the responsibility of enforcing, the laws. We are lawmakers. Again, this is a lacuna in our own law. In some other part of the world, there's a public account tribunal. In some other countries, even in Africa, where findings of the Public Account Committee goes directly to that tribunal, because submitting those reports to EFCC, ICPC, and whatever, again, it's like reporting the executive to the executive, which also has its own, downside. So there are quite a whole lot. And I agree with you absolutely that, we run a country where impunity, is the order of the day. Out of every 10 naira that is voted as public expenditure, probably up to 5-6 naira are either wasted or stolen or diverted. And this is not a good thing for a country that is struggling with so much, deficit in infrastructure and, welfare and so on and so forth. So I assure you that the Public Account Committee of the 10th Assembly, which I have the privilege of chairing, is up and doing. Our meetings are covered mostly by almost all media. And, the findings that we make are also made very public. And quite a lot has happened in terms of our investigation. You just spoke about leakages now. There's an investigation on Remitter and the leakages of government funds, which has resulted into quite a whole lot of discoveries. We had instances where people have refunded money back into government coffers. We have directed money to be refunded. A particular ministry got 10 billion naira that was meant for establishing a COVID vaccine, vaccine facility, which was never spent and never returned. We recovered that money back into government treasury earlier this year, and so many others.
Honorable, we're totally out of time, Honorable. We must thank you, and we will be inviting you a lot more since you're in public accounts, because we need to know how our monies are spent. And in collaboration with the EFCC, because thank you so much. One of the shouts on the EFCC is the fact that it's great to tackle Yahoo boys and stop them from internet fraud, but there are bigger fishes to fry. Politicians who are stealing our monies allegedly, and some it's even difficult to get them to take a plea in court allegedly for the monies,
not only
whether or not they took or not. So we must thank you.
Civil servants, some private businesses and contractors and concerns, all the spectrum.
Thank you, Honorable Bamidele Salam is the Chairman House Committee on